Thank you very much. Yes, the title of the chapter is Essay Writing, chapter 36, and I see two headings on top. One is Importance of Essay Writing. What is an essay is the second heading, and the third one is How to Become a Good Essayist, General Principles Governing Essay Writing, and all this thing. So those who are joining, we are reading essay writing, and so far we have done letter writing, paragraph writing, and sentence writing. और अब हम आ रहे हैं essay writing. I start from importance of essay writing. In all examinations, whether in England or in India or elsewhere, the essay is being more and more employed as a test of the ability of a candidate to write clear, simple, and correct English. No examination is thought to be complete in which students are not asked to write an essay on a given subject. Thus, the essay has come to be an integral part of the examination. कोई exam ऐसा नहीं है जिसमें essay के बगैर आपका गुजारा हो सके. You are supposed to write lengthy scripts which are actually essay-like, whether this is in sciences or arts or humanities or social sciences or business studies. Whatever you do, you have to write long chapters, long manuscripts or long essay type scripts. Thus, the essay has come to be an integral part of an examination, and practice and essay writing is a means to success in it. There is nothing more distasteful to a student than the thought of sitting down to write an essay. From time to time, we have given our students essays to write, but they have been giving us the reply of Boswell as to the writing of an essay. I will do anything to oblige your lordship, but that very thing, there is no reason why this should be, because the writing of essays is really an interesting topic. So what is an essay is the next headline. I just tell you, okay, iska matlab kya hai. I'm going to mute all the rest who are just joining. What is an essay? Dr. Johnson. Dr. Johnson defines an essay as a loose celly of the mind, an irregular, indigested piece, not a regular and orderly composition. Literally, the word means an attempt or an experiment, and the information supplied by the concise Oxford Dictionary is that an essay is a literary composition on any subject, usually in prose and short. Essay एक literary composition है according to Oxford Dictionary. You are not from literature, and so you're not supposed to write literary sentences or literary scripts, but you are supposed to keep things in a very synthetic fashion. It should be either in prose or short. या तो उसको तवील लिखें या इसको आप brief लिखें, लेकिन essay can be a synthetic piece consisting of long sentences or short sentences. But it is really a written attempt within certain limits of time and space to describe or to arrive at the truth concerning the person, thing, or fact referred to in the subject of the essay. The school essay is an exercise in original composition. It may be narrative or descriptive or a blend of these, and it may deal with an almost endless variety of subjects. एक school essay जो है, स्कूल से मुराद ये नहीं कि you are studying in a school. स्कूल से मुराद है कि किसी भी एकेडमी या किसी भी इंस्टीट्यूशन में जहाँ पे आप पढ़ रहे हैं, उसमें जब आप ऐसे लिखते हैं, तो it can be a narrative, यानी वो बयानिए की सूरत में भी हो सकता है, descriptive हो सकता है, यानी किसी चीज को आप describe कर रहे हैं, उसकी characteristics provide करके आप उसको लिख रहे हैं, or a blend of these two. It can be both narrative and also descriptive. So there are both possible. Right. Okay, listen. What is an essay? Dr. Johnson's definition, and I move to 482. How to become a good essayist. The general principles governing essay writing. The writing of an essay in English is one of the most difficult tasks an Indian student has to undertake. Often and often, the student complains that he has no store of ideas at his disposal of a particular topic. Naturally, he comes to the teacher with the ever-ready question, how can I obtain the information needed for this essay? There is no direct road to the kind to which he can be led. The only answer that a teacher can give a student is that he should, number 1, read, number 2, observe, number 3, think, and number 4, practice writing. The writing of an essay के लिए 4 चीजें जो हैं वो mandatory. Number 1 is read. You must have extensive reading at your hand, at your disposal. बहुत ज़्यादा reading mandatory है. If you are not a well-read person, there is every chance that when you write an essay, you will struggle, you will suffer. Number 2, observe. You must observe how you view the things and how you analyze things in your own mind. So observation बहुत ज़रूरी चीज़ है. If you want to become a good essayist, if you want to become a good essay writer. And number 3, think. If you only observe but do not think, अगर आप सिर्फ चीजों को आंखों से देख रहे हैं और ऑब्जर्व कर रहे हैं लेकिन आपके सोचने की सलाहियत वीक है, then you are all still in a state of crisis. Number 4, practice writing. Writing always improves through practice. If you only observe, if you only think but don't write, if you don't practice, if you don't write, at least अभी आ रही है कि नहीं?
सर बिल्कुल ठीक आ रही है.
बिल्कुल ठीक.
बेहतरीन आवाज आ रही है जी. सर आ रही है. बहुत अच्छी सर, क्लियर आ रही है.
ठीक है.
सर म्यूट कर दें इन्हें सबको.
सर जी सर एक दो बंदे होते हैं जो रोज जो है उनको तो.
Fine. So number 3, think, and number 4, practice writing. Here are 4 rules, and the last is the most important. Let us take them one by one. Number 1, reading. Importance of reading. In order to write an essay, please stay silent. Listen and then leave. In order to write an essay, the student must have something to write about, and so he must endeavor to store his mind with ideas by reading. सबसे पहले जरूरी है कि इंसान रीडिंग करे और रीडिंग के बाद अपने माइंड को स्टोर करे आइडियाज के लिए. Those who read enormous number of books, they do not do so only for the sake of fashion. They do so in order to stock their mind with new ideas, new brands of things. So in order to write an essay, the student must have something to write about, and so he must endeavor to store his mind with ideas by reading. Reading does not mean that a student should always carry a book in his hand or in his pocket, nor does it mean that he should cast a cursory glance at its pages or merely turn them over mechanically without noticing what is contained in them. Reading का मतलब ये नहीं कि स्टूडेंट हर वक्त अपनी बगल में किताब लिए फिर रहा हो या उसको पढ़ रहा हो और कोई काम ना. It means something more than all this. To read a book is to live in the world ever fresh, ever new, created by the author. एक किताब पढ़ने का मतलब है कि इंसान अपडेटेड रहे, इंसान लोगों की नई या पुराने सोचों से वाकिफ रहे. Those who do not read, their mind rusts. उनके दिमागों को जंग लग जाता है. To read Hamlet or Kubla Khan is to enjoy the play as if it is being acted before our eyes, or to be in the presence of the Abyssinian damsel with the Dolomier. इस तरह की चीजें जो हैं वो जरूरी है कि आप जो नया स्क्रिप्ट पढ़ेंगे, नई किताब पढ़ेंगे, उसका मतलब है आप अपने माइंड को एनलाइटन कर. I move to the second chapter, second part, how to read. पढ़ना किस तरह पढ़ा जाता है. Some books appear dull and tiresome to. जी फरमाइए. Okay, how to read. Some books appear dull and tiresome to the beginner, but
सर ये तंग कर रहा है, इसको उठा के बाहर मारें.
सर ये जो म्यूट होता है ना उसको बाहर फेंके, आप किसी की बात ना सुने.
सर इसका रोल नंबर नोट करें और इसके सेशनल मार्क्स पे असर पड़ेगा. सर टाइम निकाल के से बाहर मारें, डिस्टर्ब कर रहा है, इतनी सी क्लास चल रही है.
तो जिन लोगों ने रोल नंबर से लॉगिन नहीं किया वो उन लोगों को किक आउट कर दें.
How to read. Some books appear dull and tiresome to the beginner, but once he has grown familiar with them, he feels that reading them has been an inspiring experience. One may not like to read David Copperfield at first, being overwhelmed by the number of its pages, but if one has the patience to go through the whole book at the end, one will feel that it has been an enjoyable. I've moved to 641, the roll number 43. I noted his name down and we'll see and we'll deal. What to read? 641. Everyone has his own favorites for both subject and treatment, so that each must decide for himself what books he is going to make his companions. He must make his own anthology and learn by heart the passages of his own choice. The following list of periodicals and books may enable a student to store his mind with useful ideas. So there are lists of books. Number one, the Modern Review. Number two, Review of Reviews, the Reader's Digest, John of London's Weekly, London Mercury, The Student. And then there are essays, Oxford Book of English Prose, A Little of Everything by E.V. Lucas, Chilling for My Thoughts, Chesterton, and there are a number of books. Then comes observation part. So there were like 4 parts. Number one was reading, and there the second one is observation. How important is observation? आपका मुशाहिदा कितना important है in order to become a good essayist. But reading is not everything. As the student reads, he must observe. He must not allow his powers to observe to lie dormant. There are some people who go through the world with their eyes shut, as it were, to the beauties of nature. The rainbow is a common sight. It does not appear. But who was observation? But reading is not everything. As the student reads, he must observe. He must not allow his powers of observation to lie dormant. There are some people who go through the world with their eyes shut, as it were, to the beauties of nature. The rainbow is a common sight. It does not appeal to the former so much as to the poet. Wordsworth was full of joy when he saw a rainbow in the sky. So the point of the author is that that a poet will observe a rainbow in a different fashion in comparison with a farmer. A farmer कौसे कज़ा को और तरीके से observe करेगा, and the other one, the person and the person who is a poet will observe a rainbow in a rather different fashion. And it all depends upon your style of observation. If you observe things with a different critical lens, you view a thing differently. So Keats was thrilled to the core of his being by the Song of the Nightingale. John Keats was one of the famous romantic poets of the Romantic age, and he was thrilled to hear sound and music of the Nightingale. But had he been somebody else, his observation might be entirely different. One can discover tongues in trees, sermons in stones, books in running brooks, and good in everything. One could feel tongues in trees, यानी दरख्तों को भी जुबान दी हुई महसूस कर सकता है इंसान अगर इंसान की ऑब्जर्वेशन. इंसान sermons in stones, इंसान को पत्थरों में से भी खुतबात की आवाज आ सकती है अगर इंसान ऑब्जर्व करने वाला हो. और इसी तरह इंसान में books in running brooks and good, और इसी तरह इंसान को बहते चश्मों में भी किताबों की फीलिंग आ सकती है, and good in everything, और इंसान को हर चीज में अच्छाई का एहसास हो सकता है अगर इंसान अच्छा मुशाहिदा रखने वाला है. One can notice natural features, moor and mountain, lake and forest, meadow, grove and stream. So one can notice nature's natural features. इंसान कुदरती या फितरत की फीचर्स देख सकता है किसके अंदर moor and mountains यानी चरागाहों में और इसके साथ साथ mountains में, and also in lakes and forests. इंसान उन चीजों को ऑब्जर्व कर सकता है झीलों में और इसके साथ साथ जंगलात में. Meadows यानी चरागाहों में भी, grove and stream as well. So none of us think enough in those things on which the eye rests. Why should the eye be so lazy? Let us exercise the eye until it learns to see the startling facts then that run across the landscape as plain as a pointed fan. Let us be ocular athletes. Ocular athletes का मतलब है आप आंखों से एथलेटिक काम करें, आप आंखों को इतना चाबकदस्त बना लें कि वो दुनिया की हर चीज को बहुत ही ब्रिस्कली ग्रास्प कर सकें. ऑक्यूलर एथलीट से मुराद. Let us learn to write essays on a stray cat or a colored cloud. आओ अपनी तरबियत करें कि हम एक बिला वजह उड़ने वाले किसी बादल के ऊपर भी मजमून लिखें और किसी आवारा बिल्ली के ऊपर भी मजबूत। हमारा मुशाहदा ऐसा हो कि हम एक आम सी चीज पे ढेरों फिक्रे लिखने के काम। And this is only possible if we observe things very comprehensively, very in great detail as well. But descriptive writing is one of the most difficult forms of composition, and a student cannot attain mastery in this art if he has not learned to observe what goes on around him or to gaze with pleasure on nature's naked loveliness. He should therefore practice writing descriptions of familiar objects and everyday occurrences. Not until he begins to put down such descriptions on paper will he realize how difficult it is to give a simple, clear, and complete account of any common object or event. So he must observe and practice putting down on paper the results of his observation. The number 3 part, number 1 was reading, and reading in detail and reading in excess. पहला important part जो था आपके अच्छे ऐसे writer बनने के लिए था, that was reading, enormous amount of reading, and reading including all sorts of subjects, not just business studies if you are a business graduate, rather reading international relations, reading essays about the effects of pandemic as we see nowadays, as we have corona, the effects of this disease upon business world. This must be your part of your reading as well. You should read newspapers, you should read books, you should read history, you should read sociology, you should read all sorts of subjects that interest you and that should enlighten you. And the second, your observation must be very keen and detailed. अगर आपकी observation मुख्तसर है, अगर आपकी observation बहुत ही महदूद है, तो उसमें आपके अच्छे एसेस्ट बनने के चांसेस बहुत ही कम है। बहुत अंदेशा है कि आप अच्छे एसेस्ट नहीं बन सकते। The number 3 part is thinking. And in thinking, you should be critical thinkers. सिर्फ सोचना काफी नहीं है, critical thinking यानी तनकीदी जायजा लेना चीजों का बहुत जरूरी है if you are keen to become a good essay writer. There is a saying, one may lead a horse to water, 20 cannot make him drink. One can lead a horse to water, 20 cannot make him drink. And too often the teacher finds that he may lead or even drive a boy to books, but he cannot make him think. Same is the case with a teacher. A teacher may lead a student to the books, but he may not make him think. तमाम स्टूडेंट्स को लाइब्रेरी का चक्कर लगवाने से उनको आप स्कॉलर नहीं बना सकते। Only those will become scholars and serious scholars who have a tendency to think and overthink. जिनमें तनकीदी जायजा लेने की जबिलत होगी, skill होगी, only they are bound to become good scholars and good essayists in the end. There is no fixed rule for making a boy think. Even the cane sometimes fails. किसी को अच्छा थिंकर बनाने का कोई रूल नहीं है। इवन डंडे बरसाने से भी कोई अच्छा थिंकर नहीं बन सकता। So there is no rule of thumb how one can make somebody become a good thinker. Thinking is something very natural. Those who think and those who introspect, or those who delve down into things, they are somehow naturally gifted with this skill. There is no fixed rule for making a boy think. Even the cane sometimes fails. But probably the best method is to endeavor to arouse his interest and curiosity. But the best method to make somebody think is to arouse somebody's curiosity and interest. अगर आप किसी का interest और curiosity बढ़ाते हैं, तो उससे मुमकिन है कि उसमें सोचने समझने की सलाहियत शायद जाग जाए. Advising teachers on the training of their students, Dr. Brown says, above all, try to get hold of their affection. सबसे पहले जरूरी है कि बच्चों के साथ आप affection करें. Those students who you teach, they must be loved. They must not be abandoned. They must not be hated. They must not be subjected to loathing. उनके साथ नफरत नहीं की जानी चाहिए, बल्कि उनको आपको अपना समझाना होगा, बताना होगा कि they are close to you. Number 2, and make them put their heart into their work. And second thing is, first is affection, love, and the second thing is to make them put their heart into their work. और दूसरा चीज है कि जिस काम में वो मबजूल है उसमें उनकी दिलजमई जो है उसको शामिल किया जाए, so that they must become very thoroughly involved in whatever they are doing. This is what is needed. The student should put his heart into his work. और बहुत जरूरी है कि स्टूडेंट अपना दिल जो है वो अपने काम के अंदर लगाए. Ask him questions about what he has read. Disagree with the author. सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी कि जिस स्टूडेंट ने कुछ पढ़ा है उससे पूछा जाए कि क्या पढ़ रहे हो तुम. दूसरी चीज ये कि भाई तुम्हें ऑथर के साथ डिसएग्री करना है. ऑथर ने एक किताब लिखी, ये जरूरी नहीं है कि आप ऑथर की लिखी हुई हर बात के साथ एग्री करें. ऑथर इज नॉट अ गॉड who cannot be contested. An author can be challenged. An author can be challenged. That's how critical thinking actually comes into play. Point out what can be said on the other side. Ask a student to give a contrary opinion or a challenging opinion which may be in disagreement with what the author wrote. So you should be able to have a contrary position to what the author has said. Endeavor to get him to see that what is printed on the page is not necessarily the last word that can be said on the subject. उसको ये convince करें reader को और student को कि जो वो किताब में पढ़ रहा है वो एक last word on the subject नहीं है, वो एक final word नहीं है. It can be challenged. It is not a revealed book. It is not something written by God. It is written by a human being. So anything which is written by a human being can be contested and challenged. And so you should enable your students to become critical thinkers by making them challenge whatever they read in the books. If the teacher does things for the boys, he may gradually make him, if the teacher does things for the boy, he may gradually make him drink the thing for himself and teach him not to swallow unintelligently every wise or foolish thing he sees in. अगर स्टूडेंट को टीचर इस चीज पे ट्रेन कर दे तो कोई स्टूडेंट अनइंटेलिजेंटली यानी बगैर सोचे समझे और बगैर जहानत के हर चीज लिखी हुई चीज पे यकीन नहीं करेगा, बल्कि उसको क्रिटिकल लेंस से देखेगा और उस पे अपनी राय देगा, चाहे वो उसके साथ एग्रीमेंट में हो या चाहे उसके साथ डिसएग्रीमेंट में हो. Any student who has the ability to challenge and contest whatever they read, they are bright students. They are sharp students in that. Teach him to think also about the events of daily life, and his added intelligence will soon be reflected in his compositions. Number 644, practice. Practice for reading for writing is very, very important. If you are a good observer, if you're a good reader, if you're a good thinker, this is all not sufficient. In order to become a good essay writer, you should practice writing a lot. Those who write very regularly, for example, the columnists, the journalists, and the writers who are supposed to write 2-3 newspaper articles every week, they are good speakers as well because they are familiar with whatever is happening around them. Hence, they are well versed in writing. Hence, practice is very, very important. If you do not practice, there is every chance that you struggle converting your thoughts to words and sentences. So you should practice every now and then. If you are an author, only observing and thinking is not sufficient. You should practice on a plain paper almost every day. You should write at least 500 to 1,000 words every day on MS Word A4 size paper if you want to become a good writer. And you should correct your brand of thinking. You should correct your brand of writing every now and then. You should edit your writing. इस तरह आपकी writing में ज़्यादा भी. So 3 things. Number 1, reading. Number 2, observation. Number 3 was thinking, critical thinking. And number 4 is practice. Practice is very important. First 3 things are actually the fuel. The 4th one is actually running the vehicle through that fuel. जिस तरह आप इंजन आपके पास है लेकिन आप उस इंजन को उस फ्यूल के जरिए अगर चलाएंगे नहीं तो इंजन पड़ा जो है वो बेकार हो जाएगा. Writing actually is all about practice. Students should write as frequently as possible, for no one can write well who doesn't write often. कोई शख्स ज्यादा नहीं जो शख्स often यानी बहुत ज्यादा लिखता नहीं है. Those who do not write often, they struggle because they are not very good at editing their words. Every day I come across students shirking writing. बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स मुझे डेली मिलते हैं जो कि लिखने से हिचकिचाते हैं कि सर लिखना बहुत मुश्किल काम है, लिखने से हमारी जान जाती है, but they are actually shy, they are actually afraid of expressing them. So there are at times students who prepare for Central Superior Service exam यानी CSS के एग्जाम की तैयारी करते हैं, but they do not appear because there is always a fear, lack of confidence, and they are not in a practice mode to convert their ideas on paper. Hence, they do not appear. That fear is actually that is there under. You should write, and you should embrace the challenge to write. Students shirking writing and putting forward all sorts of excuses for not writing an essay. This evil habit must be discouraged. इस evil habit को discourage किया जाना चाहिए. One must take pleasure in writing because it is writing alone that makes an exact man. This is writing alone which makes an exact man. जो ज़्यादा लिखते हैं लोग उनको आप ज़्यादा ideal किस्म की शख्सियत मानते हैं. And if one is to learn anything, it is better that one should learn it by writing. And if you want to learn something, learning through writing is a great experience. If you do not write, there is every chance that you have a wide gulf between your observation and how you understand things. You must think before you write. Everywhere you write, you must write with care and thought. The more the time you devote to the writing of an essay, the sooner and greater will be your progress. You must take care that you do not commit the same mistakes again and again. Therefore, when your essay is corrected, it is your duty to make a careful note of the mistakes pointed out. Find out why you have made them and resolve to avoid them in future. So every day you should write, and then you should observe the mistakes that you made. So you need a mentor as well. You can have your writings checked by some of your superiors or some of your teachers who should read and know what you're doing, and find out why you have made them and resolve to avoid them in future. If you do this, you're sure to become a competent writer of English in course of time. And if you do this practice almost every day, there's every chance, and there is optimum chance that you become a good writer. The structure of an essay, again, there are certain aspects of an essay which I pointed out during the writing of sentences and paragraphs earlier in the first half of our course. So there are unity, coherence, proportion or balance, and number 4, and then how to begin an essay. तो 3 चीजें थी जो कि उस वक्त भी वो भी वहां पे भी बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट थी, जो कि माइक्रोकॉस्मिक था व्यू. यानी अगर हमने पैराग्राफ लिखना है या अपने सेंटेंस लिखना है तो sentence should have unity, sentence should have coherence, and sentences should have proportion or balance. Same is applicable to this thing. You must have unity, you must have coherence in your writing, and you must have proportional balance in your writing. So there must not be some aspects of your essay which should be too detailed and some aspects which may be too brief. There should be a proper balance between everything. Now, how to begin an essay? There are certain aspects about an essay. Every essay, this is 486 page. Every essay should be delivered, should be divided into 3 parts. Number 1, beginning. Number 2, middle. And number 3, the end. जिस तरह किसी भी organic being के 3 parts होते हैं, जिस तरह इंसान के head, abdomen and legs, इसी तरह essay भी एक organic unity के ताबे होता है, जिसकी beginning होती है, जिसका middle होता है और जिसका एक end होता है. The beginning or introduction should be striking and relevant. The beginning of an essay should be very striking and relevant. It should be full of information. It should announce your subject in a very, very unequivocal and clear fashion, and it should be very relevant. Your topic must be in correspondence with the introduction that you give in your essay. It should strike the keynote of the essay and tell him what to expect. It should also be short, as Dr. Blair says, nothing can be more short than to erect a very great portico before a small building. In fact, much depends upon a good beginning. पोर्टिको से मुराद है जिस तरह बड़े बड़े बंगलों में लकड़ी की गुजरगाह बनाई जाती है, जो कि एक झोंपड़ी नुमा होती है, जिसको वरांडा के ऊपर लगाया जाता है. यानी 3 कॉलम्स हों और ऊपर से झोंपड़ी की तरह की छत दी गई हो उसको कहते हैं पोर्टिको। एक ग्रीक स्टाइल है जो कि न्यू इंग्लैंड यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में भी इसको फॉलो किया जाता रहा है। तो ये एक अच्छा इंट्रोडक्शन एक इसी तरह की ब्यूटीफुल ग्रैंड एंट्रेंस को भी शो करता है जिस तरह बिल्डिंग में। In fact, much depends upon a good beginning. The hackneyed way is to begin with a definition. सबसे बुरा तरीका, सबसे बोरिंग तरीका ये कि आप अपने ऐसे का आगाज कोई डेफिनेशन दे करें। So the following are common types of introduction: a story or incident. Number one is story or introduction. Following are common types of introduction: a story or incident. अगर आप शुरू में कोई story या introduction दे रहे हैं, that may also be fine. Number two, quotation regarding the subject. अगर आप किसी subject को start करने से पहले शुरू में ही कोई quotation दे देते हैं या कोई शेर दे देते हैं, that's also one way of to start an essay. Number three, a general statement that includes the special subject. A general statement that includes the special subject. अगर आप किसी भी सब्जेक्ट पे बात कर रहे हैं तो उससे शुरू में आप कोई जनरल स्टेटमेंट दे दें तो उसके अंदर कोई स्पेशल सब्जेक्ट भी रेफर किया गया हो, दैट्स आल्सो फाइन। नंबर 4, अ डायरेक्ट बिगिनिंग। अगर आप कोई ऐसे दिया गया है और उसमें कोई सवाल दिया गया है, अगर आप उसके जवाब से ही आगाज ले लेते हैं, उससे मुराद है कि आप एक डायरेक्ट बिगिनिंग कर रहे हैं, आप कोई तमहीद नहीं बांध रहे, बल्कि आप ऐसे को बिल्कुल वहीं से शुरू कर रहे हैं जहां से उसको करना चाहिए। And number 5, an abrupt beginning. At times, people start essays rather very abruptly. कहीं से उसका आगाज कोई beginning, middle and end के ताबे ना हो, बल्कि कहीं से भी कोई history से start ले लिया जाए, historical event से start कर लिया जाए. This is called abrupt beginning. Number 1, Lee Hand begins his essay on deaths of little children in the following manner. Number 1, a Grecian philosopher. Grecian philosopher से मुराद है a philosopher belonging to the country called Greece. ग्रीस से ताल्लुक, जिस तरह पाकिस्तानी को कहेंगे, पाकिस्तान से ताल्लुक रखने वाले को पाकिस्तानी कहेंगे, इसी तरह ग्रीस से ताल्लुक रखने वाले को ग्रेशियन कहेंगे. A Grecian philosopher, on being asked, all three famous philosophers, Aristotle, Plato and Socrates, they were all Grecian. ग्रीस से, ancient यूनान से उनका ताल्लुक था. A Grecian philosopher, on being asked why he wept for the death of his son, since sorrow was in vain, replied, "I weep on that very account." Number 2, Dickens begins. Charles Dickens is another famous novelist from United Kingdom. Hard Times inka famous novel. So Dickens begins his essay on lying awake with a question. And number 3, Petmore begins his essay on minding one's own business as follows: to know one's own business with quiet persistence, to forward it, and to mind nothing else. That is the true way to carry on the work of life. Wells begins his essay on my first flight in a direct manner. Wells apne first flight ko is tarah start. I don't read it. And then comes the middle part. This is the most important part of the essay. Contains the appropriate facts, anecdotes, features, examples, reflections, and quotations. In this part of the essay, the student must try to omit everything that is non-essential. He should fix his attention on the outstanding ideas only, and elaborate them within the limits of space and time followed. If the subject given is scientific or historical or geographical, the essay should not bristle with figures and dates and formula. Only things of general interest should be mentioned. So again, this is the most important part of the essay. Contains the appropriate facts, anecdotes, any stories, figures, examples, reflections and quotation. यानी beginning में आप तमहीद बांधेंगे और middle में आप अपनी तमाम discussion करेंगे. And finally, there comes the end. No definite rule can be laid down for the conclusion, except that it should be short and natural. Conclusion या end आपका हमेशा मुख्तसर होगा. It should not be very detailed. It should not be abrupt. आपका इख्तिताम अचानक नहीं होगा कि आप डिस्कशन करते जा रहे हो और आप कहें अच्छा जी मैं अब थक गया, मैंने अब बात करना. No, rather you should have a very proper synthetic end of your discussion when you do. It should not be abrupt. It should not give the impression that the writer has been compelled to stop due to lack of time or space or matter, but that he has reached his goal and finished saying all he wanted to say about the subject. जिस तरह हम रिसर्च करते हैं तो रिसर्च में हम एक प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने के लिए जाते हैं और उसके लिए हम शुरू में क्वेश्चंस रेज करते हैं और हाइपोथेसिस करते हैं. उस फिर हाइपोथेसिस को हम रिसर्च करके डिस्कशन पार्ट में लेके जाते हैं. एंड फाइनली व्हेन आवर discussion ends, we announce the findings of our discussion through our conclusion part. Conclusion part में फिर हम उन सवालात के जवाब देते हैं जो हमने शुरू में दिए होते हैं. An essay is also a kind of a exercise where you have a problem in hand and you do discussion through various kinds of arguments and finally you reach a conclusion where you provide the findings of your discussion. It is well to end with some striking sentences which will carry away the reader. Sometimes climax makes an effective close. If one is puzzled how to finish, he may give only a short summary of the ideas contained in the middle part of the essay. Avoid the following types of endings. It is now high time. Avoid the following types of ending. When you write essay, you should avoid this kind of endings. For example, it is now high time our essay should have an ending. No, you should not write like this. Inclusion, we may say, आखिर में आप ऐसे भी ना लिखें कि we in conclusion we want. To sum up, therefore, in brief, it may be said, sorry, no time. If I had more time, I would have developed this point to your satisfaction. Number 652, classification of essays. Essays may be divided roughly into 4 classes. Number 1, narrative essay. Narrative essays are those that consist of narration of some events. Such events may be, number 1, historical or legendary occurrences. Number 2, stories either true or imaginary. अगर आप ऐसे ऐसा लिख रहे हैं तो descriptive है, it can be historical or legendary. उसमें कोई तारीखी वाकया या तारीखी हकायक के ऊपर मबनी कोई स्टोरी लिख सकते हैं, जिस तरह आप मेकिंग ऑफ पाकिस्तान पे ऐसे लिखें. इसके साथ साथ नंबर 2 is stories either true or imaginary. कोई सच्ची कहानी या झूठी कहानी, फैक्ट या फिक्शन बेस्ड स्टोरी जो है वो भी लिखी जा सकती है. नंबर 3, biographies, biographical sketches of well-known person या किसी मशहूर शख्सियत की ज़माने उम्री पे भी मबनी आप कोई ऐसे लिख सकते हैं. Number 2, descriptive essays. Descriptive essays are those that consist of the description of some place or thing. They may be countries, islands, mountains, seas, rivers. And number 2, aspects and phenomena of nature. Tsunami के ऊपर आप ऐसे लिख सकते हैं, which can be very descriptive. You can write on some earthquake. You can write about global warming. And number 3, towns and buildings. आप किसी town के ऊपर भी लिख सकते हैं, and this is also possible. Number 3, reflective essays. कुछ essays ऐसे होते हैं जो कि सोच विचार पे मबनी होते हैं. Reflective essays consist of reflection upon some topics which is generally of an abstract nature. They may be, number 1, habits and qualities. किसी की habits या qualities पे मबनी अगर आपसे कोई ऐसे लिखवाया जाए, for example अगर आपसे पूछा जाए ऐसे लिखें anger management. So this is a very difficult essay because it will require enormous amount of reflection and thinking कि भाई आप अपने गुस्से पे काबू कैसे पा सकते हैं, ये गुस्से पे काबू पाने के तरीके बयान करें. तो it's a very difficult one and it requires enormous amount of introspection. Break कोई नहीं करनी है. And then towns and buildings. Number 2, social, political and domestic affairs. And then comes social, political and domestic affairs. अगर आप social, domestic या political affairs के ऊपर बात करते हैं, उसके लिए भी आपको सोच विचार की जरूरत पड़ती है. Number 4, exploratory और argumentative essays. कुछ essays ऐसे होते हैं जिसमें आपको दलाइल देने होते हैं, जिस तरह किसी कोर्ट प्रोसीडिंग के अंदर आप एक वकील मुद्दे के हक में दलाइल दे रहा होता है, एक वकील जो है उसके अगेंस्ट दलाइल दे रहा होता है. इसी तरह आप जब कोई आर्टिकल लिखते हैं या कोई ऐसे लिखते हैं तो आपको दोनों पोजीशंस लेनी होती हैं, थीसिस और एंटीथेसिस. यानी एक चीज किसी चीज के हक में दलाइल दे और दूसरे आपको उसके अगेंस्ट भी दलाइल देने होते हैं और उसके बाद आपको आखिर में डिफाइन करना होता है कि where do you actually stand. These consist of exposition of explanation of a saying or a thesis. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul and lead. And number 653, general rules for drawing up an outline. अगर आपने ऐसे लिखना है तो आपके पास ड्राइंग उसकी आउटलाइन होना मैंडेटरी. You cannot start an essay You cannot start an essay and say that you know everything. You should have a clear outline in your hand and then write it. एसन जवेद कौन है? आपने स्क्रीन क्यों शेयर कर ली है? रहने दें. Thank you. So general rules of drawing up an outline. A writer has given the following general rules for drawing up an outline of an essay or on a given topic. First, set down the principal ideas that suggest themselves. These are the main topics and denote them by numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4 करके आप उसकी outline बनाएंगे कि भाई आपने इन चीजों के ऊपर बहस करनी है. Next, set down under each main topic the subordinate ideas that follow from them, जिसको हम कहते हैं कि sub headings. कुछ होती है main headings और उसके नीचे आप sub headings जो हैं उनको आप देते हैं. And number 3, arrange both your main topics and your subtopics in the natural order. So then you should arrange your topics according to the main and then the subordinate topic. See that the ideas contained in the subtopics are in keeping with the ideas contained in the main topic. Word all your topics as briefly and compactly. You are supposed to have your outline ready. So the main headlines or headings, and then the subheadings must be in hand, and then finally word all your topics as briefly and compactly as possible. Then comes the second style, which is called narrative essay. The aim of narration is to call up before the mind's eye a series of real or imaginary events and to point out, if necessary, their cause and relation to one another. An event can be related in many different ways. One may describe it as if one actually took part in it. कभी कभार आपको ऐसे इस तरह लिखना होता है कि वाकई आप उस इवेंट को जो आप लिख रहे हो उसमें खुद शामिल, यानी for example if you are supposed to write event like how do you remember 9/11, you may be able to write a descriptive or narrative essay as if you were part of that particular episode. So folks, this is where I end today. We shall resume from here next week. Thank you very much.